say that Ngannou's power in comparison to Czech Congo is far in advance. So you've got to think he only needs one chance to land. If Kane's not finishing him, he's probably got 5 chances to do it before he gets taken down. And we know he can get back up to his feet because we saw him do it against Stipe. So, like, it might be a really good night for Ngannou tonight to really show what he's capable of and what he learned from the Stipe fight.
And it's such a weird position for Velasquez to be in the heavyweight division, because obviously Daniel Cormier started off as a heavyweight, and there was always that question of when that opportunity arose for Cormier, he was never going to take it because it's one of his best friends and things like that. But if Velasquez does win this fight, who else is he going to fight at that division? Like, is Cormier, because we all want to see, I remember us two speaking last year, the number one fight, I think, in terms of like upper echelon of MMA is Jones DC3 at heavyweight. I don't think it can get more exciting than that. That fight has to happen. What happens with Kane? Because Kane doesn't want to take a rest now, does he? I think, does he really want to wait until realistically December to fight?
The thing is that, I mean, there are a lot of fights that would be interesting for Kane because he's been out for a while. I mean, you know, Kane against Overeem would be a good one. Kane against Olenek would be an interesting one, given the fact that Olenek's so good with that Ezekiel choke. Or someone like Volkov, you know what I mean? Someone that's an absolute giant that would be really awkward to deal with. I think they're interesting fights. I would even watch him against Derek Lewis. That'd be a great fight as well. There are a lot of interesting fights for Kane. It really depends on how he looks.
And there's one guy that we're missing about here. Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, yeah.
Is he going to fight in 2019?
I think we'll probably get to see Brock Lesnar against DC. I do. I think it will happen. Yeah, I mean, it's a big money fight. I don't see why it wouldn't happen. Brock's keen. He's as far as I know, he's back in the testing pool. You've got DC that's calling for that fight every opportunity he gets. DC would rather fight Brock Lesnar and then Jones. If he fights John Jones, he doesn't get the Lesnar fight, I don't think, because I think Jones has got his number. Even at heavyweight, and I think John Jones at heavyweight is a scary prospect as well.
And there is that element of, and I really don't want to use the word fanboy, but DC obviously is a massive pro wrestling fan, isn't he? So that's another big accomplishment for him. That's probably been a dream for him for a long time personally. Who wins that fight though? Seriously, because like, obviously Brock's been away, he's been in the pro wrestling world. I'm a big pro wrestling fan, so like in that respect he's been killing it, but he's a truly great mixed martial artist as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a freak athlete. He's a very, very powerful wrestler. I don't know whether he has a fighter mentality. That's the difference, though. I mean, in the fight where I was impressed, he came through a real beating from Shane Carwin and came through and won the second round. But then there have been times when, you know, I remember him running away from Kane, for example, tumbling across the octagon. I remember that kick to the midsection from Overeem completely changed his mind about mixed martial arts. I don't know whether when it gets gritty, whether he's got what it takes to get in, to stick in there. And that's kind of what DC's built his career on, is making it gritty and uncomfortable. And I think that because he's a smaller athlete, because he's got a good enough pedigree in wrestling to at least technically be able to stay ahead of Kane, I think he's going to be able to put a work rate on him that would just probably break Brock Lesnar's heart. And I think ultimately, if he doesn't get a blast first round finish over DC, I think he gets ground down and beaten up, probably rear naked choked.
And then obviously you just mentioned that you've just filmed inside the octagon for the Smith versus Jones fight, which is someone, was it DC that said the other day that we're in a world where Stipe hasn't fought and Jones will have fought twice since the last time Stipe's fought, which is crazy. You know, the fans are getting back the greatest fighter of all time. You know, everyone's been clamouring for Conor McGregor to get back in there, but the fight against Gustafsson really did show that there is truly one top dog in the sport at the moment.
Yeah.
What threats does Smith bring to the table that maybe Jones hasn't come across before? Do you think he brings anything that Jones hasn't seen before?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't. I think the truth is, everybody knows that Smith is most likely out of his depth in this fight. And if he fought John Jones 10 times, he maybe wins one. You know what I mean? It's that kind of fight. But that doesn't mean he can't win, because this is MMA. And the thing that sets Smith aside from everybody else that Jones has fought is the way that he talks about fighting John Jones. Like before the fights, we do interviews with the fighters one-on-one in a quiet room where there's nobody else around, so they can open up a little bit and give us a bit more information for commentary. It's something that the UFC have just started doing, which is working really well. And one of the most fascinating conversations I had was with Anthony Smith, and we talked about his career, you know, where he came from, the fact that he took a fight on like an hour's notice, his first fight, and that gave him this kind of weird feeling of fear and anxiety, and he wants to find that again. He's not been able to find it since. And when I said to him, who out of everybody on the UFC roster gives you that feeling, he looked me dead in the eyes, very calm, and he said, John Jones.
Yeah.
Like, that's the guy he wants to fight. So most people, they get in there and they go, oh shit, there's John Jones. Whereas Anthony Smith's going to get in there and go, John Jones, it's time. This is a fight he's been calling for. And the trap that a lot of people fall into with Jones is that he gets them to feel like they're sparring. Like, watch the Gustafsson fight. He kind of plays with him, makes it look like a sparring match, and then all of a sudden he jumps on him. Anthony Smith won't get caught up in that, or at least I hope he won't. I think he's going to attack Jones, and I think if Jones gets out the first round feeling like he's in a fight, it gets very interesting.
Well, that feeling that you just described to me then, that feeling of anxiety, and it's a feeling that most athletes experience where they have to push on to that higher level when they reach a position that maybe they've not faced before. Is that the same feeling that you had when you faced GSP? Was that the sort of same thing that you felt when you were standing across from him as that buzzer was about to go?
Yeah. I mean, I think there are different fighters and different reactions come from different fighters. I didn't look at GSP and go, I'm going to get damaged in this fight. Like, when I fought Anthony Johnson, I thought, this guy could quite easily, he knocked everybody out at welterweight. This guy could quite easily really hurt me, damage me, Whereas I didn't really feel like that from GSP. It was a different kind of feeling. But the feeling going into the GSP fight was, am I going to prove everybody right? And I didn't want to prove everybody right. And I don't think that's the situation with Smith, because, he's an underdog, everybody expects him to lose. And I think people are realistic about where he is in his career. He's had 3 fights at light heavyweight, There are some guys that have been on a campaign and never got a light heavyweight title shot that are stronger than Smith. He's the right guy in the right time with the right performances. And I think, no matter how he fares on the night, he'll learn so much from it,
And now this time of year, like pretty much in the next 4 weeks, is usually when the card for International Fight Week starts to unfold, probably back end of March, to be fair. What do you expect for that? Because obviously the talk at the moment is potentially Cerrone McGregor. I don't know whether that would actually main event Fight Week itself, but what would be the ideal situation for you?
I think that's a great fight, obviously. I'm not writing off, I don't know what as far as the suspensions go, but I'm not writing off the idea of Khabib fighting McGregor again that week.
Yeah.
I'm not writing off the idea of McGregor fighting Diaz that week.
He's called out a lot of guys, hasn't he? Even after last week, the Anderson Silva fight.
Said he'd
as well.
fight Anderson, yeah. Said he'd fight Anderson, so
And what did you make out of that as well?
Do you need me? I've got a meeting in a second. No, you're good, Karen.
The Silva and Adesanya fight.
It was a martial arts extravaganza. It was beautiful to watch. It was not the kind of fight that I would recommend to a new fan. Go and watch this. This is tantalising. It was fascinating from a martial artist perspective, and there were a lot of games going on, kind of like when Darren Till fought Wonderboy. Yeah. A lot of games going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So high level chess match.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fascinating. I would like to have seen 2 more rounds to kind of force the point a little bit. But I don't think we've seen the best out of Israel Adesanya yet. I think there's a lot more to him, and I think Anderson Silva's, if he gets the right matchups, the right fights, I will love watching him fight a few more times, but he's not up there in the mix with these guys anymore. He doesn't have that fire in himself anymore, I don't think.
And finally, just before I let you go, MVP versus Daley tonight. Thoughts?
I'm nervous for Paul, I'm honest.
Really?
If Paul can get inside and land that big left hook, then he'll put MVP to sleep, there's no doubt about it. But MVP, from what I've seen of him against the guys he's fought so far, he's masterful at range. He's so good. And Jimmy Warley, who spars with him regularly, talks about how good he is in the gym. And if Jimmy says that he's good in the gym, then that means he's good, because Jimmy's one of the best I've ever sparred. So I think we're going to see something special tonight. Either Paul Daley, putting him in his place and showing him what a left hook's all about, or MVP showing us that he's really got the potential that we think he has.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dan. Really appreciate that.
No worries.